Lesson 79, Transforming Formulas. In the picture here, you see a common formula that we've used many times. Distance equals rate times time. Now, there are three different variables in there, and you can solve for each one of those variables as long as you have two of the variables with actual values in it. So if we wanted to find the distance, we just need to know the rate and the time. If we wanted to find the rate, we still need to know the distance and time. But in order to solve for the rate, we could get the rate by itself and divide by t on both sides, like you see here. And you get rate is the same as taking your distance divided by the time. So that is what we want to look at today, is using basic formulas that we have that have more than one variable in it. And we want to rewrite it so that we can solve for a different variable. So let's take a look at an example. The illustration shows that W equals the sum of x and b. Solve the equation for x. So here we want to get x by itself. So the opposite of adding b to x is subtracting b. And so I subtract b on both sides and I get W minus b equals x. Now I solve for x, and then if we had some values for w and b, we could actually solve for what is the value for x. Problem 2. If we measure the circumference of a basketball, then we can calculate its diameter using the formula c equals pi times diameter. Transform the formula to solve for d. Then describe the meaning of the transformed formula. I'm going to start off with writing the formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. To get the diameter by itself, I'm going to divide by the pi on both sides. And I get circumference divided by pi equals diameter. So the meaning of the transform, if I want to find the diameter, I just take the circumference, which is the perimeter of a circle, and I divide it by pi. And sometimes they're going to say divide by, keep it as pi. Sometimes they could say use 3.14 for pi, or they might ask you to use 22/7. But anyway, this formula, this transform formula, is just saying how do you find diameter when you're given the circumference of a circle. Practice problem A. The formula for the area of a rectangle is A equals L times W, or length times width. Solve the formula for the width, or W. Then describe the meaning of the transform formula. So if I have area equals length times the width, I always do the opposites. So if I want to get W by itself, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by L on both sides. So now I have A over L, or A divided by L, equals W. That means to find the width, I take the area and I divide the length from the area, and that will give me my width. Practice problem B. Solve the equation P equals A plus B plus C for A. I need to solve for A. I'm going to rewrite that here, so P equals A plus B plus C. I need to get A by itself. That means I don't want this B and C here. So the opposite of adding B and C is subtracting B and C. And I do that on both sides. And so now I have P minus B minus C equals A. And that would be my transformed formula. Sample problem 3. The formula for the area of a rectangle is A equals length times width. Transform the formula to solve for the length. And then use the transform formula to find the length of a rectangle with area 42 and a width of 3. I start off with area equals length times width. To get the length by itself, I divide by the width on both sides, and I get area divided by the width equals the length. Now that I transformed my formula, now I need to substitute my numbers. The area is 42. The width is 3. I need to solve for the length. 42 divided by 3 would give us 14. So we would say the length of that rectangle be 14. Sample problem 4, solve for r. Area equals pi r squared. Then find the radius of a circle with an area of 154 square centimeters. Use 22/7 for pi. So we're going to solve for r first. So area equals pi r squared. To get r squared by itself, I divide by pi. And now I have area over pi equals r squared. Since we're trying to find r, I need to undo the square, so I find the square roots of both sides. So now I have radius equals the square root of the area divided by pi. And now I substitute my numbers in. So to find the radius, I have the square roots of 154 divided by 22/7. When I'm dividing by a fraction, that's the same thing as taking your 154 times the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 22/7 is 7 over 22. And now I can simplify. I can divide 22 here and get 1. 154 divided by 22 is 7. Square root of 7 times square root of 7 is the square root of 49. So the radius equals the square root of 49, and the square root of 49 is 7. So it would be 7 centimeters as the radius. And practice problem C and D. The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Solve for C. So if I have my a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to get c by itself, I find the square roots of both sides. And so now c would equal a plus b. Then the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals 2L plus 2W. Solve for the formula for L, then use your formula to find the length of a rectangular field with a perimeter of 620 feet and a width of 140 feet. So I'll start off with my formula. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. I need to solve for L. So the first step is subtract 2W on both sides, and I get P perimeter minus 2W equals 2L. You get L by itself, divide by 2. So now I have the perimeter minus 2 times the width divided by 2 equals my length. Now I can substitute my numbers in. The perimeter is 620 minus 2 times the width, which is 140. Divide that by 2. First off, order of operations, 2 times 140 gives me 280. So 620 minus 280 equals 340. Divide that by 2. We would have a length equaling 170 feet. So that was our lesson today on transforming formulas.